Today let's learn a new poetry. The title of the new poetry is The Ballad of Father Gilligan. Actually, it's a narrative song. We know that what is a narration. The word narration stands for story. So this poetry also tells about the life of a person. It's a narrative song. Actually, this song, poetry, it tells about the miserable life of the poor people in Ireland. So these people are very poor. They are very poor in money, but they are very rich in religious matters. They are having a very strong belief in God. So on one side, the people are having a very danger epidemic, and half of the people are already died. So it tells this poetry tells about the life of a very poor priest. His name is Peter Gilligan. He is working in that place, in that parish, where the people are, half of the people are already dead, and other half waiting for the death. I mean, soon they will die, because that place is under a very severe epidemic. So it's the olden time. So being very old, very poor, the people won't have any chance to go to hospital and have medicines and save their life. So this is the situation of this poetry, the backdrop of the poetry. And in this parish, when all the people are dying, this priest has to go all the houses, maybe twice or thrice a day. So he's very tired, and he just forgets, maybe not forgets, he just sleeps. He fell asleep when he wanted to go to a man to save his life, but he couldn't go there. So he says that God helped him in his trouble. So how and what happened? So that's what tells in this story, in this narrative song, ballad. So let's listen what happened. Let's understand what happened in the story. So let's go to the poetry, the Ballad of Father Gilligan. It's written by W.B. Yeats, William Butler Yeats. Let's know about the man. Okay, so here William Butler Yeats is an Irish poet and one of the foremost figures of 20th century literature. In 1923, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for his inspired poetry. Yeats is one of the few writers who completed his greatest works after being awarded the Nobel Prize, which include The Tower in 1928 and The Winding Stair and Other Poems in 1929. So it's what it says. Actually, he got Nobel Prize for his poetry before he wrote his greatest work. So it says that The Winding Stair and The Tower, all these are the greatest poems of the poet, but before publishing his greatest poets, he got Nobel Prize. Normally the poets get Nobel Prize only after publishing the very famous or the very greatest works. but this man got a Nobel Prize before his famous or the greatest works. So from that we can understand how brilliant the poet is. Okay, so let's go through the poem. The Ballad of Father Gilligan. The old priest Peter Gilligan was weary night and day, for half his flock were in their beds or under greenswards lay. Once, while he nodded in a chair at the moth hour of the eve, another poor man sent for him, and he began to grieve. I have no rest, no joy, no peace, for people die and die. And after cried he, God forgive, my body spake not I. He knelt, and leaning on the chair, he prayed and fell asleep. And the moth hour went from the fields, and stars began to peep. They slowly into millions grew, and leaves shook in the wind. And God covered the world with shade, and whispered to mankind. Upon the time of sparrow chirp, when the moths came once more, the old priest Peter Gilligan stood upright on the floor. Mavro, the man has died while I slept in the chair. He roused his house out of its sleep and rode with little care. He rode now as he never rode, by rocky lane and fen. The sick man's wife opened the door. Father, you come again? And is the poor man dead? He cried, and he died an hour ago. The old priest Peter Gilligan in grief swayed to and fro. When you were gone, he turned and died as merry as a bird. The old priest Peter Gilligan, he knelt him at that wood. He who hath made the night of stars for souls who tire and bleed, send one of these great angels down to help me in my need. He who is wrapped in purple robes with planets in his care, had pity on this least of things, asleep upon a chair. And the poetry ends.